ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रयवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्तिः 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 शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वामेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मावादिशं ऋतमवादिशं सत्यमवादिशं तन्मामावीत् तद्वक्तारमावीत् आवीन्माम् आवीद्वक्तारम् ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 तच्छंयोरावृणीमहे गातुं यज्ञाय गातुं यज्ञपतये दैवी स्वस्तिरस्तु नः स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वं जिगातु भेषजं शन्नो अस्तु द्विपदे शञ्चतुष्पदे ॐ शान्तिः 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 भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागं सस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्ददातु ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।
गुरु गोविंद दोनों खड़े काके लागू पाए बलिहारी गुरु आपने गोविंद दियो जो मिलाए। Offering my most loving and reverential pranams at the lotus feet of our most beloved Bhagwan, Reverend Elders, dear brothers and sisters, Sairam to one and all. In this legendary Doha, Kabir Das says, if ever both God and my Guru are standing together side by side, to whom shall I do my namaskar first? And he says, we should fall at the feet of Guru, for it is Guru who initiates us into God, who leads us to God, and who makes us reach God. As I ponder on these lines, I think our case is very unique, and perhaps most unique in the history of mankind. For here was God who introduced us to our gurus, and if I may say so, a set of chosen gurus. Once a genius and a luminary among this set of chosen Guru chosen by God Himself, was a dear Ruchir sir. I have had the privilege and the opportunity to interact with Sir for the last almost 25 years now. Among various qualities that have always impressed upon my young mind then and even now, be it his passion for punctuality, his penchant for perfection, his magnanimity with humility, or his sheer brilliance, his academic brilliance, but among all, his most conspicuous aspect of his persona, which has been etched on my young mind then, has been his deep love for Swami. It was as if his life was revolving around just one question: will this make him happy? What can I do to please my Swami? Swami was verily the nucleus of Ruchir sir's life, and all the orbits around those nucleus took care of itself to match to the vibration of nucleus. Today, on the 13th day, as we reminisce that life which was lived with God, for God, towards God, and by the dictum of God, we all have come together to pay tribute and ode to our dearest Sir in the form of this memorial. To Sir with love. Our first speaker for the day is Shri Ruchir. Shri Ruchir is the chairman of the HMI Group of Hotels, Japan, and is also the trustee to the Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust, Prashanti Nilayam. Sir could not join in person right now, so he has shared his recorded message for a dear Ruchir sir.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba's devotees from Japan convey to Mother Taruben, Desai family, faculty and fraternity of Lord Sai our heartfelt condolences and fond remembrances on the very sad demise of our dearest brother, Professor Ruchir Desai. Ruchir's heart always reflected compassion of Sai. I vividly recall Swami having instructed Brother Nagaya and Brother Ruchir to assist in the Narayana Seva of Buddhist countries. During the Buddha Purnima festival, Buddhist devotees had arranged special vegetarian full course Chinese lunch, which was a rare treat for the Narayanas. Ruchir visited my room in the ashram, which was full of foodstuffs. He tried and tasted each item of the elaborate Chinese menu. Ruchir was overwhelmed. With tears in his eyes, he said, "Many of them can get only one meal a day, and many of them sleep hungry." Ruchir, as a renowned professor of commerce and economics, was intrigued and he wanted to see, experience and learn how a small country like Japan, in spite of the nuclear holocaust and the surrender in the war, could become an economic power. In summer of 2014, Mother Taruben and Brother Ruchir Desai made a resolve for a private visit to Japan. This visit, even today, is an unforgettable milestone in the spiritual journey of Japanese devotees. Ruchir would not accept even the train fare to travel to Sai Mandir in Tokyo, nor would he accept even a cup of coffee. His practice of being an example of Sai teachings was the hallmark of Ruchir. During his lecture to devotees in Japan, he inspired a Japanese architect, Brother Arishima Masahiko, who later made the concept drawings for the upcoming digital museum on Bhagavan's life. Now, the museum will become a memorable testimony of the Tokyo Brotherhood of Sai. Ruchir's last life work is his seva to humanity of constructing the Sai Digital Museum. He wrote to me for arranging technical and other resources for fruition of this museum. He wrote in his letter that he will sell his only family house in the home state to fund the construction. Such unconditional surrender was symbolic of his dedication. The museum, with Bhagavan's munificent grace, has now become a project being managed magnanimously by our Central Trust. On 19th April this year, Ruchir wrote a letter to update the progress of the Brindavan Museum project. He recommended the name as Sri Satyasai Divya Samruti. He sent photos of construction, the work in progress. I am convinced the museum will be duly completed as well managed to benefit true seekers of Satyasai. Ruchir's next project was the Golden Jubilee commemoration of the Brindavan campus. Highlighted by Professor Ruchir's admiration for Japan, where he organized a seminar of high-level Japanese speakers, the seeds of Brindavan Japan friendship, first sown by Professor Desai more than 3 decades ago during Buddha Purnima festivals, have today blossomed every heart with Lord Sai's fragrance. The Satya Sai Institutes of Higher Learning are unparalleled institutions. They are the gift of divine to humanity to create, to sustain, and to foster ideal teachers of humanity. Precious jewels like Professor Ruchir. Ruchir's life is a testimony of true sacrifice, of total unconditional surrender of one's life for a higher purpose. That purpose of becoming the hands and feet of Lord Sai to carry his divine mission. The world-renowned educational institutions like Harvard, Stanford, Oxford, and the likes receive from the faculty and alumni huge sums of money and honor. But the comparative uniqueness of Sai institutions is unparalleled, in that the faculty members like Professor Ruchir sacrifice their whole life to give up 1,000,000 mundane pleasures, leave their homes in total detachment for the higher purpose of giving their whole life for students. Each of the true Sai teachers are contemporaries of the holy sage Adi Shankaracharya. Ruchi's life, though a brahmachari, celibate, is similar to Shankaracharya, even in the aspect of Matru Bhakti, reverence to Mother. Mother Taru is an ideal who gave honor and pride to the world of Sai. The true memorial of Brother Ruchir is in following his legacy of fostering, sustaining, and promoting the Sai institutions of higher learning, so as the supply chain of teachers like Professor Ruchir continue to illuminate the world. Words fail to describe the love, compassion, and kindness of Ruchir. Ruchir's life has touched thousands of students. We can only say that Sai fraternity has lost one of its most precious jewels. The Sai institutes have lost one of its most accomplished luminary, and the world has lost an exemplary citizen of higher self-transformation. It is said, those whom God loves are called first. We devotees of Japan salute Professor Ruchir Desai and pray for eternal peace upon him to reside in the paradise of Lord Sai. In deepest condolences and profound sorrow, Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, sir, for that befitting ode to sir. Now we have Sri Nimish Pandya sharing his thoughts for Sri Ruchir Desai. Sri Nimish Pandya is an accomplished lawyer by profession and the All India State President for the Sri Satya Sai Seva organizations. Sri Nimish Pandya.
Om Shri Sai Ram. For me, Ruchir has been a great inspiration. Though, very frankly, he was my younger brother's colleague in Vrindavan. Mayur and he were together, and my fondest memories are in the early 80s when I used to go to Vrindavan along with my parents, because by that time Mayur was already in college and Ruchir was also there. It was a great experience to see a Bombay boy there along with Mayur, the two Bombay guys, as you would say, in great form with Bhagwan. Ruchir stood out as a great example of a sadhaka who was yearning to follow Swami to the T. And therefore, I think over the years we saw in his demeanor, in his walk, in his speech, there was this constant attempt to emulate Bhagwan and to imbibe him thoroughly. A sign of a great devotee, a sign of a great sadhaka, who was constantly attempting to put into practice what the Lord and Master wanted each one of us to do. For me, he was the quintessential Mumbai boy. I knew his parents very well. They were a part of the same Samiti. And therefore, my vision of Ruchir has always been of a young boy, though he became a very big man. But for me, he was always frozen in time as a younger brother. But despite being a younger brother, as I said, for me, it was a great inspiration to see him, the way he used to walk, behave, and talk. The greatest thing that impressed me about Ruchir was his balance, his great sense of equanimity to things that happened to him in life. I've known him go through the turmoils of life, up and down, losing his father, taking responsibility at a very younger age, having a mother to look after, and still being the obedient sadhaka to Bhagavan in all his way. Many of us could be either carried away by the love that Bhagavan gave us, or maybe could have gone down the dumps of depression if Bhagavan put us to a test. But my impression of Ruchir was a complete balance at all times. The latest experience of what I have just mentioned about Ruchir's great sense of equanimity was during his latest project that he was working upon, the digital exhibition that he was working in the Vrindavan campus. That was a very challenging project for him. From every dimension of its work, whether it was financial, practical, technical. And I knew that he was going through a great stress in terms of fulfilling that project. But despite that, true to my expectation, Ruchir always stood out to be very balanced and never lost his cool through that. And this was because he firmly believed that Swami was with him at all times. Yes, we lost him to this deadly COVID, but I think it's just an excuse. He was such a rich personality and a great devotee of Bhagavan that I'm sure Bhagavan has much greater roles for him in eons of time to come. Because even for God, to get such dedicated devotees is not an easy task. And Ruchir will always stand up as a resplendent example of what each one of us should be. A great inspiration. I salute him. Well, I would miss him, no doubt. But I'm also happy that he's a trailblazer of his own kind for all of us on the path of spirituality. I pray to Bhagavan that he grants him, continues to grant him all his grace and love that he showered upon him during his sojourn on earth for many, many more journeys till he achieves the divine lotus feet as per the divine will. In conclusion, let me try and say that when we were young, our parents used to tell us when we missed and lost somebody, that somebody so dear to us is now a star in the firmament. True. Today, I want to believe, and I'm convinced that Ruchir has now become the great divine star in the firmament of God, shining bright and showing the light to all of us as to how to reach the divine lotus feet. Jai Sai Ram.
Indeed, sir. Ruchir sir is the guiding star for all of us now. We now have Brother Om Prasad offering a musical melody for Ruchir sir. Brother Om Prasad is an alumnus of our university and a senior systems engineer at Cisco. Brother Om Prasad.
Om Shri Sai Ram. At this juncture, I am reminded of an informal evening session that happened in Vrindavan Hostel. And many teachers were asking all the students about the life goals that they have. And when it was the turn of one of our brothers, he took the liberty and turned around the question and asked Ruchir sir as to what his goal is. And without a momentary hesitation, he replied, loving Swami and living for Swami. Many times we would hear him tell us not to fall sick. And his logic was, we would lose a day to lose Swami. His heart longed for Swami and his head thought about Swami and his hands served Swami. What a life. Probably each moment he would have felt the feelings of this song that I'm going to offer. It says in short, what is the use of this life that doesn't live for you? The lyrics go something like, Ninne dhyaninchaleni deha melano. Of what use is this body when it is not meditating upon you? Ninne pujinchaleni karamulelano. Of what use are these hands when they are not worshipping you? Kanu vinduga ninu chudani kannulelano. Of what use are these eyes when they are not feasting on your divine form? నిన్నే మరచి నింతలంచని జీవ జన్మమేలను. What for is this birth when it forgets you and is not thinking of you? It also says, Nive na matapita bhratave sada. You are my mother, father and brother. Sakhudavu guru devamu mari anta nivega. You are everything for us. Neede tanuvu, neede manasu, anta needega. This body is yours, so is this mind, and everything is yours. Anu anuvuna kanakanamuna indiyunna sadai hridaya. You are present in every atom and every cell. So let me just offer this song humbly to Bhagavan on Ruchir sir's behalf. मधुर मोहन घन श्याम सुंदर स्वामी आनंद प्रदायी मांदाला रासियोई आ आ నీవే నా మాత పిత భ్రాతవే సదా నీవే నా మాత పిత భ్రాతవే సదా సకుడవు గురు దైవము మరి అంత నీవేగా సకుడవు గురు దైవము మరి అంత నీవేగా నీదే తనువు నీదే మనసు అంత నీదేగా అణు అణువున కణ కణమున నిండియున్న సదయ హృదయ మధుర మోహన ఘన శ్యామ సుందర స్వామి ఆనంద ప్రదాయి మాందాల రాసియోయ్ ఆ నిన్నే ధ్యానించలేని దేహమేలను నిన్నే పూజించలేని కరములేలను కను విందుగా నేను చూడని కన్నులేలను కను విందుగా నేను చూడని కన్నులేలను నిన్నే మరచి నింతలంచని జన్మమేలను నిన్నే మరచి నింతలంచని జన్మమేలను నిను తలవని నిను పిలవని జీవమేల జిహ్వమేల మధుర మోహన ఘన శ్యామ సుందర స్వామి ఆనంద ప్రదాయి మాందాల రాసియోయ్ ఆ ఆ
Thank you, Brother Om Prasad. We now have Ruchir sir's mother sharing a few memories from sir's childhood. Shri Tarukishore Desai.
Sai Ram, dear brothers and sisters. Really speaking, you are all my children, and my blessings are there with you all. When I would like to say some few words about Ruchir. He was very affirmative right from the assertive, right from the beginning of his early years. What he wants, he wanted to do it that way. Once what has happened, my mother-in-law always cooking very fast. So there may be some dirt on the kitchen platform. So he would say, unless you clean it and make it clear, I will not take my lunch. So he wanted cleanliness right from the beginning. And at a very early age, nearly he may be 11, 12 years old, one day a beggar lady has come. And she has just covered the upper part and the lower part of the body. Rest of the body was naked. So he felt sorry and he pulled my sari which was there drying up, hanging. So, and gave it to her. Then when I came home, he told me, Mommy, don't be angry. You have so many saris with you. She hasn't got any. So I have given your sari to her. I said, okay. Then next day again she came in the same fashion. So he was little upset. So he called her and told her, yesterday I have given you sari, why don't you wear it? Why have you come like this again? She could not answer and she just went away. So his temperament was such, like from the very beginning. Once, normally Saturday, Sunday, after in the evening my husband comes back, we go either to the seaside or in a garden. We three of us used to go. One day he said he would like to go to Juhu Beach. And we were just going on a scooter. So he was standing in front. And my husband was just getting it out. There was a red light, so he stopped it. But he felt that we are going on the right side and he wanted to go on the left. So he immediately said, no, Daddy, not this way, that way. His father said, okay, I am not going that way, beta, wait for a minute. Then he must be, I think, in the 7th or 8th standard. So he is a ferocious reader. He has become a member of a library near our house. In those days, in 66, 67, 68, 90, 70, so charges for the month will be 5 rupees only. But they issue only 2 books in a week. He will go bring books. 3rd day he will go back and wants to return those books and take new books. So then the librarian told him, this way, I cannot give you with 5 rupees all these books. He said, don't worry, my father will give you, but you give me the books. So he wants us to read only. Once what has happened, in the school there may be magazines and then research he must be reading. So in one of the magazines there was an advertisement about essay competition. So he has selected a subject, wrote down the essay and posted it also. He never told me nor his father. And after that, I was going to come to Puttaparthi. And he was waiting every day after coming to school. Mummy, postman has come. Mummy, postman has come. I say, yes. What's that? I said, then he won't say anything. He will say, Mummy, I wanted to know postman has come or not. Then I was going to come to Puttaparthi for Swami's darshan. So he told me, Mummy, you do me one favor. You lend me 25 rupees. I have to return you that when you come back. But that money you have to donate in Swami's work. So you carry it. But from where are you going to say? Then he told me the whole story. He has written an essay. He got the first prize for that essay and he's going to get 25 rupees cash. So he's waiting for that money to donate it. So right from the beginning, his temperament, I think he must have brought all these karmas from his previous birth. And very disciplined, even in talking. He always wants to bring good points of others. Then he say maybe he must have done this because of this or that, but never criticizing anyone. So after that, he joined Swami's college. When he was in the 10th standard, what has happened that time, the teachers have gone on strike and the examination was taken little late. So results will be declared in the month of July. But here, the colleges will start by 1st of June. So he could not come for the 11th standard. He has to study for 11th and 12th there. But he was keen to come over here. Even then I talked to Indul. Indul said, you should have told me. I should have sent him there and let the results come late. But never mind now after 12th. After 12th, my husband brought him here. He says, I'll sit before Swami's door. Unless he gives me admission, I will not leave his door. And he waited here, he went through the interview and everything, and he got the admission. So his mind is very much fixed right from the beginning. After coming over here, he was following Swami's principles and putting them into everyday practice. May God bless you with good health, peace and happiness. Sai Ram to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am, for those beautiful and insightful memories of Sir's childhood days. Indeed, that donation of 25 rupees that he made was a precursor for a life that got donated wholly and fully to God Himself. We salute you for your unwavering and steadfast faith, even in these testing times, which will go to inspire not only all of us, but generations of devotees who will know about this mother. For your Bhagavatam life for us. All I can say is thank you, and thank you. We now have a person sharing his thoughts and memories for Sir, who shared a very unique and special camaraderie with Sir, our dear Rajkumar Jain Sir. He is the assistant professor at the Department of Physics, Vrindavan campus of the Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning, and a contemporary to Ruchir Sir. May I now invite Jain Sir to address us.
Let me talk about my association with Ruchir. Auntie told us that he was very keen to join for his pre-university program. I joined in 1978 for the pre-university program in Vrindavan, and Ruchir joined in 1981 for his BCom program in Vrindavan. We did not have too much of interaction while we were in Vrindavan as students. The regular meeting in the hostel once in a while. He was in the commerce stream, I was in the science stream. After that, we moved on to Prashant, did a post-graduation there. One thing, Ruchir and me, too much of interaction, working in the background. It was only in 1986 that our real interaction started. Swami asked me to teach in Prashantilayam for a year and then asked me to move to Vrindavan in 1986. And within a month, Ruchir and Mr. G.V. Ravishankar both joined me in Vrindavan. Swami was building a fresh team in Vrindavan. And from 1986 till 2021, for 36 long years, and taking approximately 10 months in a year, which I spent with him, apart from the vacation, we've spent close to 360 months together in each other's face, literally, moving together, working together for his satisfaction. When we started in 1986, it was literally that we were thrown into a pool and we did not know swimming. There was no formal training, either to be a teacher or how to take care of students or any other job profile. We were just sent to Brindavan. We came, we saw what had to be done, and did what we were supposed to do. There was only one consideration. And when I say this was only one consideration, this was a consideration in the team that Swami was building up. And that was, this is our place. Nothing was too small, too big, too easy, or too difficult for any of us. We kept a focus on him. We worked as a team, and Ruchir was the prime example of a team man, ready for anything, anytime, to make our Lord happy. Believe me, we have done lots and lots of things together. Maybe I will share a few of them. As students, we were sensitive to what he expected from us. And Ruchir never let him down in any work, any job, any assignment which was handed directly to him or indirectly. What made Ruchir so special? Auntie did tell us about the special qualities that he had. I found this in Ruchir to a great extent. His ability to tune to Swami under all circumstances. Brother Nimesh said the same thing. He was a very, very balanced person. For any and every work that we had, he could just tune into him and do what Swami expected. We were not given explicit directions of how to approach our work. We just did as what Swami students would do. And that was to do the work, just keeping him as a prime focus. Allow me to share a few of these informal trainings that we have. Being in very close quarters with Ruchir, I will just share maybe one or two of them with the time that permits. Let me start maybe with one assignment that Swami would give us together. And that was taking care of his guests that would come to Prashanti Nilayam. It all started one day. And I think so that was the Mauritius Prime Minister who had come to Prashanti Nilayam. And Swami sent both of us to go and take care of him. He said, go up the hill and take care of him. That was all that we were told to do. And that was all that we needed. We had done lots of guest serving in Swami's presence, both in Prashanti Nilayam, in Kodaikanal, in Brindavan, on many occasions. And that was directly under his supervision. So when we went up, typical of Ruchir, it was unsaid. We would just divide our work very quickly, no discussion, maybe just with the eyelids, you take care of this, I take care of this. And then we knew exactly what he was going to do or what I was going to do. As we walked in, we found that it was not the way that we would have done it in Swami's presence. Our approach was We should do something be exactly the way Swami would want. And we realized that apart from the Mauritius Prime Minister, there was the first citizen's wife who was also there, and she had been there for quite some time. We didn't realize that we had not taken care of her arrangement. But typical of Ruchir, as we were doing our work, a no-nonsense man, he got the place quickly cleaned up and just first saw to it that we could attend to the Prime Minister. When we realized, when we had the people coming and telling us that the first citizen's wife was also there, he was not taken aback at all. Crisis management was his forte. Promptly, whatever was made for her, which we had discarded, we quickly got it made, and her food was ready as well. Wonderful experiences that we had. That was maybe the first assignment that we took in the Sanshina's guest house. After that, we must have taken care of lots of prime ministers, starting from Mr. Gujral and others. And Swami would just give us instructions, please go and take care of them. And it was wonderful to see Ruchir so meticulous and so organized, taking care of all these arrangements. Let me share one more informal training that Ruchir had got before he started moving to Kodaikanal and organizing, in quotes, Swami's visits to Kodaikanal. And I think so that was our trip to Madumalai, and a sort of a picture, sort of a visit to a bird sanctuary that Swami decided to take some of his students and teachers. Swami had given him instructions and told him who all were to accompany him on the trip early in the morning at 5 o'clock. There was nothing that me and Ruchir did not share. So he came to me and with tremendous confidence told me who all were going, who all were not going, and also what instructions Swami had given. So my first tip to him was, say, Ruchir, Swami's told you to tell everybody to come at 5 o'clock. Please tell everyone to come there at 4 o'clock. He was reluctant. I said, you tell them that they should, Swami said to come at by 5, but they should be there at 4 o'clock. He was not very sure that he should say that, and I think so he didn't. And that day morning, after he had informed everyone about reaching there, at 4 o'clock, when we went to Trai, we had been assigned our vehicles. I accompanied him inside Trai, and as we were walking, he climbed up the steps and Swami was there. At 4 o'clock in the morning, it must have been around 4, Swami was up there and upset why people had not turned up. And he got a mouthful. That was the training part. I froze wherever I was and just quietly walked down the steps and went and sat in the vehicle, waiting for Ruchir to come. Ruchir came down dazed, shaken. Promptly, we got things moving, and what all we were supposed to do, we could not afford to lose any time. And we started, I think so, by 4:30 itself. There were so many who were left behind, but that was the first, I think so, the steps that we took. We stopped on the way for breakfast, and once again, I could see Ruchir getting his dose one after another till we reached our place. And that was Swami's training, so that things would be very, very smooth when he would go to Kodaikanal. There are umpteen such experiences that we have shared together, from organizing sports meets or from the Gram Seva. Ruchir was the backbone, the self-effacing man that he was, never ready to come into the limelight, just happy doing his work, supporting each and everyone, whether in Vrindavan or at Prashanti Nilam, so that his Lord was happy. Let me share maybe the last one. When the Gram Seva started, there were a couple of us, and I know There are some of them who are sitting. Vineet being one of them. We would regularly interact with Swami for the Gram Seva program. After every session, Swami would call some of these students as well as some of us inside and give instructions for the next day. Me and Ruchir were part of the core team which was organizing the Gram Seva along with many others. And our mind was always, once the villages were cleared, how is it that we are going to organize the next day's work? Because we just had 15-20 minutes when Swami would go for bhajans, and before we had to convey the instructions to the students and the teachers for the next day's program. But I was sure that 15-20 minutes, I'm saying this, Gram Seva became very organized subsequently. But in the initial years that we had, it was a hand-to-mouth existence. We would come to know about the villages that we had to go just 15-20 minutes before. We had to divide the students, divide the teachers, divide the vehicles, all that in the space of 15-20 minutes. But the mathematical mind that Ruchir was, the organizer that he was, by the time we would start a discussion and start talking, he had everything jotted down in 10 or 15 minutes, dividing them into the teams A, B, C, D, and E with the teachers and with all the students in a very, very methodical manner. This was in addition to all the other works that we had to do apart from visiting the villages. He never, ever let Swami down. There was no excuse that I have to do this, this, and this, therefore I will be found wanting in this. This was Ruchir for each one of us. He was just a phone call away. Anything and everything that was required, just one call, you knew very well it will be done the way Swami would want it to be done. Brother Hira was talking about the museum. Let me share with you what set Ruchir on this project. Our last project that Swami had given us directly was when Swami was going to visit Vrindavan in 2008. And that was a wonderful training for us, a learning which I would love to share with all of you. Ruchir, permit me to share it. Before we came here to Vrindavan before Swami's visit, Swami gave us instructions to do a little bit of work which had to be done before Swami's visit. We prayed to Swami that Swami, you should please come by April 26th, which is the 3rd anniversary day. And Swami immediately responded by saying, you finish the work, let me know, I'll be there the next day. And true to his word, so we set a target for ourselves that we'll try and complete it. And the learning that we had was, while we were doing that work, Swami told us directly, don't think about Vrindavan and Puttaparthi, think about Swami. And that was an explicit instruction to us because we too were very attached to Vrindavan. We were attached to Vrindavan because it was Swami's place and he had sent us there to work there. And that was a lesson that he taught to us on that day. Now coming to his project, when Swami left his body, it became a meaningless existence for many of us. We are trying to find a meaning in this world. And as I would walk with Ruchir, trying to probe his mind, giving support to each other, we both would wonder what we would do. I would keep probing Ruchir's mind and Ruchir would be very, very silent and quiet. I knew he was quite lonely. And I probed and I said, Ruchir, what is it that you want to do? And he shared this thought of his. I said, you can't keep quiet. You have to begin. And I started pushing him into it. And once his thoughts were clear, he made the attempt and just decided that this is what he would want to do. And then once Ruchir decides that he has to do something, no one can hold him back. Yes, Ruchir, 1 + 1 in Swami's mathematics is 11. Now, with you gone, I'm not even one. I may be half of what I was. Thank you very much for spending so much of time with us. You were a wonderful gift to all of us, and I'm sure that you must be very, very happy at his feet. We love you, Ruchir, and we all will always remember you. Thank you very much, Swami, for giving me such a lovely brother. Your will has to be accepted. We willingly accept it. We are very, very happy that he's at your feet. Grateful to you for everything, my dear Lord. Let us always be grateful, and please keep everyone happy. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Sai Ram. Thank you.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I tell you all about it when I see you again. We come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. Why do you have to leave so soon, yeah? Why do you have to go? Why do you have to leave me when I needed you the most? 'Cause I don't know really how to tell ya. I'm feeling much worse. I know you're in better place, but it's always gonna hurt. Carry on. Give me all the strength I need to carry on. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I tell you all about it when I see you again. We come a long way from where we began. Oh, I tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. How do I breathe without you? I'm feeling so cold. I'll be waiting right here till the day you're going home. Carry on. Give me all the strength I need to carry on. So let the light guide your way. Hold every memory as you go, and every road you take will always lead you to home. I miss you, my friend. I really miss you. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. It's been a long way from where we began. Oh, I tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
यादें याद आती हैं, दिल में बस जाती हैं. Indeed, will always live in our hearts, our dearest Ruchir sir. We now have Brother Y. Arvind making the Viddu Lekha offering to our dear Ruchir sir. Brother Y. Arvind.
I never had the opportunity of directly being Ruchir sir's student, but he has had a tremendous influence on our life. And like me, there are several others who have been touched and have learned so much from him. When he passed, there was a tremendous outpouring of tributes from several of his students. And not only students, we had seniors, we had juniors, compatriots, and several people who wanted to share their pain, their anguish, their loss with all of us. And as Auntie Ji had said, she would love to hear from her son's students as to what they thought of their teacher, brother, father figure. We sent out a request to the entire team after the prayer session on 18th, and by 19th evening, there was a tremendous outpouring. 85 articles reached us, 85 tributes reached us by the evening of the 19th of May, and we had a tough time putting all our feelings together. And finally, we have the web page ready. This is Vidyu Lekha. And it's the alumni magazine. Actually, I'm getting a bit emotional because listening to that wonderful song, it has sort of a chain of memories. But then this is Vidyu Lekha. It's about us and our relationship with Swami. There are several thoughts, several feelings, several emotions associated with Vidyu Lekha, and you can read all about it when you find the time. But the most important thing now is this wonderful tab called In Memoriam. It's about Ruchir sir's wonderful relationship with Swami and how he passed it on to all of us. It's a neat page. It has got a small introduction to the magnificence that Ruchir sir was and is, because as the song says, he still lives in our hearts. You have the prayer session link over here, which was telecast on the 18th, which was streamed live on the 18th. And then you have the compilation of the posts that were made on social media, which was already offered to Magic, God's Child Ruchir sir. And down below, you have a long list, 92 tributes to this wonderful, this master, this teacher, this brother, whom we all lovingly, not only us, Bhagavan himself would say, Ruchir sir. So when the Lord himself addresses his loved one in so loving a form, that love touches our hearts and takes us on. Thank you. Thank you, Ruchir sir, for having come into our lives. Thank you for having made a difference to all of us. Thank you. You live with us forever. Sai Ram.
Thank you, Brother Arvind. As we have gathered together to reminisce that fragrance that has left the garden of Sai to the heaven of Sai, we also acknowledge the pain and the bereavement our brothers and sisters all over the world are going through as they, the near and dear ones are leaving them to the abode of God. We pray to you, Bhagwan, to bless all the souls who are leaving in this time to reach your lotus feet and to give strength to each and every bereaving family member that they're able to cope up with this colossal loss that they're facing right now. Let's all join in chanting Sai Gayatri 3 times for peace to all.
ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्।
We now have Brother Dilip Chaudhary sharing his memories of Ruchir sir with us. Brother Dilip is currently the Director of Enterprise Architecture at Hamad Medical Corporation at Qatar. Brother Dilip Chaudhary.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Offer my humble pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Respected Ruchir sir, dear brothers, sisters. It was the year 1986 when I first got a note that I'm going to join Bhagwan's University. And in 1986, that was the only year when Bhagwan's Institute conducted entrance exams across all the states. So the academic year, instead of starting for the undergraduates in June, it started about a month later. When I was selected, father and me had come to Puttaparthi, and father said, now that you are going to continue in Bhagwan's institution, you continue staying here. And he left for Odisha. And then I was allocated the Navan campus. So I had to stay till the classes began in the old boys hostel. So with a small suitcase in my hand, I remember one evening walking up the stairs to the old boys hostel, not knowing who will be there. I did not know anyone, no friends, no brothers. As I entered, I just heard Sai Ram, what's your name? And then I looked, and it was Ruchir sir. He had already completed his MCom, and he was waiting for Bhagwan to give him further instructions. And then he welcomed me, and that was the first time I felt at home. Until that time, I used to come to Puttaparthi as a Balvika student, as a devotee. And I never knew what it is to be Bhagwan's student. So I remember in a very, very innocent way asking Ruchir sir, will I get to talk to Swami? And then Ruchir sir just looked at me and he smiled. And then he went, without answering me, he went and opened his suitcase and gave me an album. He said, go through this album, then we will talk. And I opened the first page, and that's where I saw Ruchir sir was standing next to Bhagwan giving a speech. The next photograph, where students were gathered around Bhagwan, sitting very close. And all of these opened up new dimension for me, because until that point, I had seen Bhagwan, maybe the closest distance was 700 meters. And I could never imagine that students would have such a privilege of being so close to the Lord. And as I was going through each page of that album, it was like a window opening up to new dimension of that relation that was going to unfold me as Bhagwan's student. And at the end, I looked up to Ruchir sir and asked, sir, this is something I had never even imagined, that we could, as students, get so close to Bhagwan. And then Ruchir sir said very beautifully, and what summarizes his life and what exactly he did and he lived. He said, keep Bhagwan in the center of your life, and all these photos that you saw in the album will come true. Visualize each and every moment, and it will come true. And then on the 4th of July, we left for Vrindavan, and a couple of weeks later, I was so happy to see Ruchir sir and J.V. Ravi Shankar sir arrive in Vrindavan as our teachers. I was in the science stream. I never got an opportunity directly to be in Ruchir sir's class. But because I had a good handwriting, he became my mentor because he gave me the task of managing the wisdom wall. And that's where I learned how to do the content arrangements. And we would, after the entire hostel has gone to sleep, we would sit down, stare at a blank wisdom wall, and then decide what should be the next topic that would come onto the wisdom wall. And then he would also kind of guide me for making Bhagwan's cards. But one thing I always remembered, 1 year passed and Bhagwan never spoke to me. I remember walking up to Ruchir sir and asking him, "Sir, you told me that Bhagwan will speak to me. But 1 year has passed. So many times Bhagwan has come and gone, but Bhagwan has not spoken to me yet." Very beautifully, Ruchir sir mentioned, and I still remember those words. He said, "Bhagwan is preparing you in silence so that you can understand his words." And that's when I looked up to each and every teacher, how they were talking, how they were behaving, and how they were emulating, they were living Bhagwan's message. And one of the occasions, Ruchir sir would always bring the card making materials and he would give it to me. And then he would ask me, "Okay, what is the card that you're going to make?" And we would discuss. And then he would tell me, "Okay, do it like this. This is how you should write the prayer." But that particular occasion, and then Ruchir sir never gave me any materials, and he told me that whatever is there, you just make a card. And I looked at all the materials that was there. It was very little to make a good card or a beautiful card for Swami. And then I was just wondering, the festival was coming near and we had to send a card to Puttaparthi Swami, and I had no materials left. And then I walked up to sir and asked, "Sir, I need some materials so that I can make the cards." Then Ruchir sir said, "Remember last time when Bhagwan had come, what is one message that Bhagwan gave us? Sealing on desires, reduce, do not waste money. So I want you to learn that lesson and put that in practice so that Bhagwan will be happy." So I remember that evening walking around Trai after the bhajan, and I prayed out to Swami, "Swami, give me some idea so that I can make a card for you." And that's where I realized that there were many ducks in Trai, and then there would be these feathers that was lying around. So I started collecting each and every feather that was lying around around the Trai campus, and then colored them into yellow and made a very beautiful heart-shaped card for Bhagwan. And when we sent it to Bhagwan, Bhagwan looked at it and he said, "I know this has been made out of the duck feathers that are in Tribal now." And that is how Ruchir sir and Bhagwan through Ruchir sir taught the sealing on desires. And I remember in the early 90s, one of the afternoon when I was in the interview room, Bhagwan had given me this opportunity to be in the interview room. One afternoon, there was a knock on the door. When I opened it up, Ruchir sir was standing there with bundles of clothes. Then he asked, "Is Bhagwan there still sitting?" I said, "Yes, Bhagwan still sitting." And then I rushed up to the reading room and I told Swami, "Ruchir sir has come." Then Swami asked, "Who?" I said, "Ruchir sir." "Who?" Then I said, "Swami, Ruchir sir." "Ah, Ruchir. Why, sir?" Then I told Swami he was my teacher. Then I was in a dilemma. Why Bhagwan asked me, "Why, sir?" And then Karunendra Swami was doing Pada Seva. Then Karunendra Swami just turned to me and he said, "When Bhagwan is here, he's our universal teacher. In his presence, you just call people by their first name. Now, I was in a dilemma. How can I call my sir just by his name? And whenever such a dilemma comes, I always just pray to the Lord with and prayed out, Swami, please help me. What should I do? Then Swami just looked at me and he smiled. He had read my thoughts. Then he said, where is your Ruchir, sir? Then I had got my answer. Then I said, yes, Swami, he's waiting down. Okay, call him up. And I rushed down. Then we bring all the cloth bundles up. That morning, Bhagwan had come early and he had gone out for darshan and he had seen Ruchir sir. It was a birthday time and there was little shortage of some of the safari pieces. So Swami had told Ruchir sir to rush to Vrindavan and get whatever safari cloths were there. And there was Ruchir sir in the afternoon with all the cloth bundles that Bhagwan wanted. Bhagwan was very happy and he was so pleased because morning Bhagwan had told and afternoon the next session Ruchir sir was there. And that's how he would read Bhagwan's thoughts, what Bhagwan wanted, and he would kind of work towards it. And then Bhagwan was very happy. Then he got up and went, before going to his room, he said, put tiffin for Ruchir, sir. And then Ruchir sir was a little puzzled. Then he looked at me after Bhagwan went. He asked, what was that? Why was this gap? Then I explained, I narrated the whole thing to Ruchir sir. Then he said, it's okay, you can call me Ruchir. But what followed on after that was each and every time a conversation would come between me and Bhagwan about Ruchir sir. Swami remembered this, and every time he would say, Ruchir, and then look at me and smile and say, sir. Sir, you were not only our sir, all the students for us, you were also Swami's, Bhagwan's Ruchir sir as well. When we live with Bhagwan, Bhagwan's words, Bhagwan, the way he speaks, the way he talks, part of it becomes part of us. But here was one incident in Kodaikanal, I remember. Bhagwan came out of, all the students were sitting there, and Bhagwan came out from one of the rooms, and there was a slight change in Bhagwan's gait. And then before we could realize, we remembered that, Bhagwan was trying to imitate Ruchir sir's unique walking style. Ruchir sir had this unique walking style, and then Bhagwan goes on to explain that you would know if Ruchir sir is walking, if there is a road to go to the left or go to the right, you would know beforehand which direction he's going to take. And then appropriately his hand would start moving. And if he's going to go to the left side, and if it's going to go to the right, his right hand would start moving. And Bhagwan was imitating Ruchir sir. Here was Bhagwan who was calling Ruchir as Ruchir sir and was imitating his walking style. Sir, you have been an inspiration to one and every student, devotees. Yes, physically you are not there, but when we look at the whole journey, you are in Bhagwan's lotus feet, and you will always be remembered by each and every one of us, and you will always be with us forever. Saira.
Thank you, Brother Dilip, for those wonderful experience of Ruchir sir with Swami. We now have Brother G.V. Ravi Shankar sharing his thoughts on Ruchir sir. He's currently the Senior Director, S&P Global at New York. Shri G.V. Ravi Shankar. Sarah.
Om Sri Sai Ram, my loving and grateful pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. I can hardly believe that it's been 2 weeks now and we don't have Brother Ruchir with us physically. Certainly gone too soon. If you'd asked me to describe Ruchir in one sentence, I would say Ruchir was a true karma yogi. He spent all his life in dedicated, devoted service to our dear Swami, to his dear Swami. Ruchir and I were batchmates. We joined in 1981 into Swami's colleges. We were classmates in MCOM. We were colleagues in Vrindavan. But most of all, we were brothers. Ruchir was no doubt brilliant. But what really sets him apart is he shared that brilliance with others. He was always helping others in so many different ways. He would tutor other students back in the student days. He would always try and help students when he was a lecturer. And those who had came in contact with him, he always helped. I recall the day in June in 1986 when Ruchir started his illustrious career. Back in April of 1986, we had finished our MCOM, and we were naturally waiting for Swami to give us direction on what to do next. So it came to June. We were sitting in the veranda. By then, Swami had already given some direction to some of the other classmates and batchmates of ours. And the institute classes had already started. And so Swami had come, and in his graciousness, he came to us and looked at us and said, Ruchir, Ravi Shankar, go to Vrindavan and teach. That was that simple command. And with that simple command, Ruchir's career started. My career started at that time as well. We were most grateful. Swami gave us Pad Namaskar, blessed us, and asked us to go. We asked Swami, when should we go? He said, Brave Erland, go right now. We were most grateful. Swami was talking to a few of the others who were next to us, and we didn't want to get up in front of Swami. But then Swami looked at us and said, why are you both still here? Go right now. That was the urgency Swami had. And that was the urgency Ruchir always had to do everything that Swami said to the letter. We reached Vrindavan that evening, and the next day joined the institute and started classes. We had 4 or 5 subjects each. And as they say, the rest is history. Ruchir, for 35 years, with such dedication and devotion, taught. I saw that from the first day. He was brilliant in teaching, but he did it with love and with care for students. And that's why thousands of students today remember him with fondness and miss him. Ruchir did whatever he could in the best way possible. He set high standards for himself and for others around him. He was always trying to find new and innovative things. After I came back to the US in 1992 and started working here, I was always in touch with him. I was on the phone with him, or we would meet whenever I came to Patti or to Vrindavan every year. And what struck me was Ruchir always wanted to do more and more and better things. And it was clear it was for Swami. That was his dedication. That was his life. I would say Ruchir also asked of himself and others around him the one most important question. Is what I am doing what Swami would be pleased with? That was his goal, and that was what he expected of others around him as well. And he asked that right question. He set that yardstick for himself and others around him. Would this action be approved by Swami or not? So I would say Ruchir really took Swami's message and made it his life. Ruchir also never neglected his duties as a son. It was beautiful to see the love of Ruchir with his beloved and revered mother. Getting to know his mother all these years, and her love, her dedication, her surrender to Swami, no doubt Ruchir turned out so exemplary in so many different ways. I am ever grateful to Swami for all that he has.
Thank you, brother, for your kind words. We now have Brother Ravi Kumar giving a musical ode to Ruchir sir. We all know Brother Ravi Kumar from Prashanti Nilayam. He served Bhagwan for many decades at the Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, Prashanti Nilayam. Brother Ravi Kumar.
Most beloved Bhagwan, dear auntie, Ruchir sir's mother, dear brothers, elder and younger. It's very difficult to talk about Ruchir sir in the past tense. I'm sure all of us share that sentiment. When his mother was just mentioning about one of the good qualities, one of the many good qualities of Ruchir sir, is that he would say nice things only about others. I remember as soon as I had joined Vrindavan in 1988 for my BCom, I went up to Ruchir sir and very frankly told him that, sir, I find it very difficult to balance my balance sheets. And because I had heard that he was, he was very brilliant. And he said, firstly, he gave me the confidence and he said, see, you have done commerce in your 11th and 12th, don't worry. And then he added saying that you had a brilliant person like Ramakrishna Reddy sir teaching you accounts till 12th. So don't worry, your balance sheets will tally. And that was what Ruchir sir was. His balance sheets and accountancy always tallied. And he kept that balance always in life as well. Was he brilliant? Yes. Was he principled? Surely. Did he have the confidence of Swami? That was one of the greatest blessings anyone can ever have. And was he kind and sweet? Most definitely, yes. I think it's only if you have touched people's hearts like Ruchir sir has touched all of our hearts and not just our minds as teachers. It is only then that you will find such outpouring of love as we all love him. And Swami has given us these beloved teachers, many of whom have also spoken to us today. They carry forward Swami's light. They carry forward Swami's lamp by lighting that light, by illumining our minds and by brightening our hearts. And Ruchir sir is just a prime example of all that. And I will sing a song which I feel echoes all our sentiments about what Ruchir sir is and what he means and what his life has always been. मधुबन खुशबू देता है, सागर सावन देता है, जीना उसका जीना है, जो औरों को जीवन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है। सूरज ना बन पाए तो बन के दीपक जलता चल, फूल मिले या अंगारे, सच की राहों पे चलता चल, सच की राहों पे चलता चल, प्यार दिलों को देता है।
अश्कों को दामन देता है, जीना उसका जीना है, जो औरों को जीवन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है। चलती है लहरा के पवन के साथ सभी की चलती रहे, लोगों ने त्याग दिए जीवन के प्रीत सभी में पलती रहे, कि प्रीत सभी में पलती रहे। दिल वो दिल है जो औरों को अपनी धड़कन देता है, जीना उसका जीना है, जो औरों को जीवन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है। थैंक यू रुचिर सर।
Thank you, brother, for such a befitting ode to our dearest Ruchir sir. We now have brother Vineet Basotia, who has been a student of Ruchir sir. He is currently the global head of analytics at Philips, based in Amsterdam. Vineet Basotia.
Thank you, Brother Ashok. This is not an easy moment at all, and I think very difficult for many of us to control our emotions. I have heard many of our teachers, different brothers speak. In fact, my thoughts are a little, muzzled because I'm getting overtaken by emotion here. We lost a legend. We lost a teacher. We lost a legend in Ruchir sir. He was very, very dear to many of us. Some of us who worked closely with him in stores as stores boys, we held him very dear in our heart because there were small matters which also taught us big lessons. My first interactions with sir was probably in 1994 when I joined as a BCom student. In 1995, I started as a part of my hostel life, serving in stores and helping in stores, which Ruchir sir used to very dearly. Someone mentioned he was a Karma Yogi. From early morning till late in the evening, he used to dedicatedly manage the store in the Brindavan ashram. He was brilliant. Everything which he did was with perfection, and some of us adored him, admired him. I remember instances when there was a chance in the beginning to cut cloth. There used to be bundles of cloth, and we used to cut them, and sir used to cut it with perfection, and I used to cut it with imperfection. I could never get to cut cloth clearly. And I used to wonder that maybe, I'm not meant for this or how to do it. But I remember sir telling me, listen, if you concentrate, if you focus, everything in life slowly becomes perfect. Today, there are so many people who talk about situational leadership and leadership by example. Sir was a living example of it day in and day out. And he taught many, many students, generation of students over the years, many simple things. In fact, the first time probably Bhagwan spoke to me was a situation where the stores boys in Vrindavan went to try to arrange cloth and cut and make bundles of cloth of trousers and shirts. And I got an opportunity because Ruchir sir said that, all the stores boys who joined newly, today we are going in the afternoon to help with some cloth arrangement in Trai. And as we were doing that, I was a little worried that what if Bhagwan came out? And in fact, in some time, Bhagwan came out, and I didn't want to cut cloth because I wasn't good at it. I just wanted to fold cloths and keep them in the side. And sir kept observing that. And sometime Bhagwan came, he asked somebody to get us some food. Then he saw all of us were working. And that was the first time when Bhagwan interacted with me and asked me where did I come from. And then, it was a 15-20 minute kind of a situation. And when we came out, I was telling Ruchir sir that, sir, I can't do this well. I'm not good at it. And he said, there are so many things you will learn when you stay in the proximity of God. And slowly, slowly, you will become good at it. At some point of time, as I studied in Swami's institution and I was in Puttaparthi and I was doing my PhD, I got the opportunity to actually run the hostel stores. And every time when there is to be some situation which would come up, I would think, how would Ruchir sir do this? How would he think about this? He remained in my mind as a mentor, as someone who I would admire, and from someone I would always learn. In fact, today if we have to go and walk in Vrindavan, and if we have to walk through those corridors, it's going to be difficult. There are nooks and corners where we have learned so much from Sir. I also remember another incident. We were in Kodaikanal in 1998. I had never spoken too much as a public speaker. I was not very confident in those days. And Swami said that tomorrow, he used to call me Assam boy. He said, you should speak. And that evening and that night, I lost my sleep. I just could not formulate my thoughts. And I could not think, how am I going to speak? What happens when I'm going to stand in front of the podium? And that was the first time I got an opportunity to speak. When I stand in front of the podium, maybe I'll freeze, maybe nothing will come out of my mouth. And I remember that evening when most of the students went to rest, and Ruchir sir, who is to meticulously manage so many affairs in Kodaikanal, I remember asking him that, sir, how do I get this confidence? And he said, listen, Vineet, you have to do this tomorrow. It is all inside you. If you stand there and you let Swami do it, maybe this will be easier. I took that message from Sir, and many, many times in my life till today, whenever I have to stand up and speak, it comes back to me that if we just leave it to Swami, he will take care. There are many such instances which probably Sir taught many of us. In fact, that same Kodaikanal trip, I remember it was a long trip. There were, Swami was there in Kodaikanal for 30 days or so. Towards the last week, there was an opportunity where Swami said, let's have a debate session. And then someone asked that what would be the topic of the debate? And there was some discussion, and the topic of the debate ended up to be fundamental discrimination versus individual discrimination. And I, who was a shy boy, not that confident to speak, by that time had gathered so much confidence that I participated in that debate with a lot of fervor, a lot of, I would say, confidence and gusto. And I always remember that, the teaching happens in classrooms, teaching happens in a lot of ways. The most practical and the most probably liberating teaching happens with great teachers who teach you in simple, pertinent, and deep ways. And honestly, Ruchir sir was one of those teachers. If few of us tried to give some kind of a message, we will never be able to complete the picture. His story is a vast story. It has touched so many hearts. It has touched so many minds. And today we feel that Swami, you took him early. He could have been with us a lot more. But we know that your will is your will, as Jain sir told. So we abide by your will, and we miss you, sir. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, Brother Vineet. We now have Brother Ujjwal Priyadarshi, who has passed out from Vrindavan campus in the year 2019 and currently pursuing his civil services examination, Brother Ujjwal.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Its convention demands that we call him Ruchir sir, but to all of us students, he was more like a father figure. And there's no exaggeration when I say it. Having worked with him in the stores, in the jimmies, and being part of the commentary team, and having studied under him for 5 semesters, I can't get myself to say just how much he meant to us. I remember the first semester, I got the highest marks in the class. I got 7.9, which is not great. Ruchir sir called me to his room and he said, Ujjwal, you can get 8.9. You should never be satisfied with 7.9. You can be happy. You're doing good. You're participating in other activities, but you should get 8.9. I never could do that. On the last day in Vrindavan, he was in the stores on his chair, and I looked at him and I said, sir, I'm very sorry. I could not be the person you wanted me to be, but I promise you that I will be. And with tears in his eyes, he said, Ujjwal, no, we'll remember you for the so many good things you've done. And 13 days have passed since he passed away, and now we are remembering him. Our success will lack the acknowledgement of his smile and his luster. He was a driving force for so many of us. The beauty of Ruchir sir was that you never had to actually wait for him to call you. You just went and you spoke to him from your heart, your deepest fears, your personal matters, and he invested himself in us totally. He was my mentor. I remember on birthday, it was also the day our house ceremony was going on. One of my roommates came up and said, Ruchir sir is waiting for you. I didn't know what he was waiting for. And when I went there, he had this gift in his hand and he said, happy birthday, Ujjwal. I had not spoken to my father and mother up till then. But here was this teacher, so glorious, so magnanimous. He wished me. And standing in Jimmy's with his hand, on the slab, he would be cracking jokes. And one day, Debashish and me, we just said the pastries here are very good, like from a nearby bakery. And that evening after bhajans, he called us. We didn't know what we had done wrong. And then he opened this packet and there were 4 pastries for the 4 Jimmy guys. And he said, you all ask, I'm like your elder brother. How can I not give it to you? He was this person, like, you just had to say it. And he was there for you all the time, all the time. My interview for my future studies, he sat me down and he prepped me. And it is very hard to imagine a future where our success will not be known to him. But continue we must. Like he continued after Swami left his mortal coil. We must continue and do our very best to make him a proud teacher. I wish I could really express what he meant to us. His love for dhokla, or the way he didn't like brinjal, his run up the stairs, which is very unique. But we'll miss him. And ending with words which he once said in Kulwant Hall of Khalil Gibran. I would tell you more of him, but how shall I? When love becomes vast, love becomes wordless. And when memory is overladen, it seeks the silent deep. Sai Ram, we love you, sir. We love you.
Thank you, Brother Ujjwal, for those words. We now have Brother Balramachandran offering a musical ode to our dear Ruchir sir. This would be also have few of the visuals from the global Narayan Seva that alumni all across the world has taken today in the memory of our dear Ruchir sir, Brother Balramachandran.
Dear Swami, loving pranams at your lotus feet. Pranams at the lotus feet of my teacher, Ruchir sir, who I'm sure is seated at his lotus feet and listening to all of us currently. In fact, Brother Ashok in his introduction said that one of the most conspicuous things about Ruchir sir is his deep love for Swami. The beautiful irony is that I believe that his greatest secret also was his deep love for Swami. I think it was so deep that it was difficult to gauge, and just a small portion of it was visible to the normal human eye. Like Brother Vineet said, I also had the opportunity, Vineet and I are classmates. I had this opportunity to join the Vrindavan stores. In fact, it was on my birthday that walking in the corridor, I still remember sir walked up to me and said that you'll join the stores. And wonderful experiences followed, but I know this is not about me, it's about sir. And like a diamond has beautiful facets to it, let me pick one facet of sir. We have seen many, but let me pick one. If, from my perception, if I have to describe what Ruchir sir is and his relationship with Swami is, I think out of the many things that he was to Swami, I think one thing he was to Swami is he was a dasa. And a dasa is not a servant, but a slave. A servant has the option to leave the master, but the dasa is tied to the Lord's feet forever and ever. But in this case, I think here was the case of the dasa holding on to the feet of the Lord so much that the Lord couldn't but hold on to him. Let me present a small song which I think embodies Ruchir sir's life and his life's message. His life was about seva. He taught me and many other students and inspired us through his seva. The seva he would do with just one motive, and that is to please his Swami. And I believe that this song encapsulates everything that he stood for. And I must mention that, till about an hour before the program began, I was wondering what song I would sing. And in a flash this came, and when it came, I realized that this is possibly the most apt song that I can offer. And I firmly believe it is Bhagwan's decision that this should be offered. And for his own loving son, he's even decided what should be sung on this occasion. धन्य भाग सेवा का अवसर पाया धन्य भाग सेवा का अवसर पाया शरण कमल की धूल बना मैं शरण कमल की धूल बना मैं मोक्ष द्वार तक आया धन्य भाग सेवा का अवसर पाया धरती भीतर बीज पड़ा था प्रभु के चरण लगे तो धरती भीतर बीज पड़ा था प्रभु के चरण लगे तो सेज गंध ला धूल गंध ले दूर गगन तक डाया धन्य भाग सेवा का अवसर पाया घट में गूंजा नाद निरंतर गट में गूंजा नाद निरंतर, ज्योत जली अंतर में। सौ सूरज के उजियाले में, सौ सूरज के उजियाले में मैंने मुझको पाया, धन्य भाग सेवा का अवसर पाया पाया। चरण कमल की धूल बना मैं, चरण कमल की धूल बना मैं। मोक्ष द्वार तक आया, धन्य भाग सेवा का अवसर पाया, अवसर पाया, अवसर पाया। Sir, when I saw you in Vrindavan, I never, out of respect for you, had the guts to refer to you by what I'm referring to you as now. Permit me to refer to you as my brother. I knew it, you knew it, and the Lord knew it because we were united by Him. My dear brother, Sai Ram to you. Watch us from wherever you are at the Divine Lotus feet. Jai Sai Ram.
Our most beloved Sir has touched the hearts of hundreds and thousands of students across 35-36 batches that he taught in Vrindavan. This global initiative of doing this very small offering to him is a prima facie evidence the love that he has spread all his life to all his students. Brother Ravi Kumar rightly said, he rightly sung, जीना उसका जीना है जो औरों को जीवन देता है. That life is worth living that gives life to others. And that was the life of Ruchir sir. He lived for God. He lived for God's students, God's devotees. As I said, his was a blessed life that lived with God, for God, towards God, and by the dictum of God. Sir, as we bid this final adieu to you, I know you will continue to live in our hearts and inspire us. Personally, I know I will not be able to call you for anything, be it a bad day in office, for any dilemma, be it professional or personal, to get your best of advice, for it was Swami speaking through you. But just a promise to you, sir, that we will live by the ideals that you have set as an exemplary teacher, a loving brother, a chiding father. To me, I'll all say, to sir, with love. And when I started, the words of legendary Saint Kabir Das, I'll just alter the second line to say, Balihari Guru Aapne, no. Balihari Govind Aapne, aise Guru hame dilaye. We are grateful to you, O Lord, for bestowing upon us such a stellar of a teacher and Guru. We'll always live in our hearts. We love you, sir. We love you. We love you. We end today's program with Sir speaking to us through a beautiful composition by Brother Jaideep Das, sung and arranged by Rishabh Nair, followed by Mangal Aarti. Jai Sai Ram.
Don't wake me up, don't wake me up, I am dreaming. I'm flying on a carpet full of songs. Don't wake me up. Don't wake me up, don't wake me up, I am dreaming. I'm flying on a carpet full of songs. Don't wake me up. Dolphins of light swimming by my side. I'm floating. Don't wake me up. Don't wake me up. Moonbeams and starlight, that's all I see is there. Rainbows and raindrops just fade away. Don't hold me down, don't hold me down, I am soaring. I'm riding a balloon full of dreams. Don't hold me down. Don't hold me down, don't hold me down, I'm soaring. I'm riding a balloon full of dreams. Don't hold me down. Bubbles of air bursting across the sky. I'm breathing. Don't wake me up. Don't wake me up. Moonbeams and starlight, that's all I see is there. Rainbows and raindrops just fade away. Don't wake me up, don't wake me up, I am dreaming. I'm resting on a pillow made of clouds. Don't wake me up. Don't wake me up, don't wake me up, I am dreaming. I'm resting on a pillow made of clouds. Don't wake me up. She's humming me a song. She's been there all along. I'm sleeping. Don't wake me up. Don't wake me up. She's humming me a song. She's been there all along. I'm sleeping. Don't wake me up. Don't wake me up.
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु